Days you'll go through practice, you'll catch a lot of passes. Then some days you'll go through practice and you won't catch no passes. So I feel like, if anything, just let me get 100 every day after practice. When I'm in the game and the ball hit my hands, I can tell that it's really paying off. It just feels different when it's coming to me.
Tagovailoa fired to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins! It's a true freshman. Tagovailoa to Devonta Smith.
I don't know that anybody has contributed in more ways than Devonta has. He exemplifies everything that any of us would want in a competitor. Constantly persevering to try to improve, try to get better, try to be productive, try to help the team.
I approach every game the same. I come out there, I'm going to give my all, and I'm going to go out there and try to execute the game plan the best way I can.
Devonta Smith is selected 10th overall in the NFL draft, now reunited with one of his former college quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, in Philly. And here's what he had to say about their connection already. He said, "It's great to have that connection come back. It just feels like old times, like back in college." Certainly that comfortability factor works both ways. And Dan, a lot of questions about Devonta's size coming out of the draft, even though we feel like he's an outlier as a player and what he brings to the table anyway. But how do the Eagles implement this new offense with Devonta and Jalen?
I would use him like the Chargers have used Keenan Allen, or I would use him the way the Saints have used Michael Thomas. Move him around, help him out, because there's things you can do for a guy who's not physically dominant to physically dominate. You can put him in a slot. Putting him in the slot, what that does is forces defenders to play a little bit off. Look at how the defender for Georgia is not going to get any kinds of hands on Devonta. He slow plays it. He's by him about 8 or 9 yards. Never gets touched just because they brought him in the slot. Then you can motion him. Start him inside, motion him down to the bunch. Again, his superpower is the wiggly release. He sets the defender. He has to fall off because of that motion. Easy touchdown. Now, let's say you put him in the slot and they want to play press man. Well, you put him in the slot. Look at the difference between the outside corner, about 2 yards, inside corner, about 3 yards. Now Devonta could square him up. Again, the superpower is the ability to get wiggly on the release. He can get skinny. That defensive back wants to be stabbing with the outside arm. He's using the inside arm 5 yards downfield. Devonta has already won on this route because you moved him inside. It gave him that extra yard of separation from the defensive back. Yes. And then he dictates what that defender can do to him. That's what teams like the Chargers have done with Keenan Reed. Again, the Saints have done with Michael Thomas. So I think it's a huge aspect of them allowing his talent to shine just by the creative things they can do before the snap. Because he's so important for not only the success of this offense, but the development of Jalen Hurts.
I love the Keenan Allen comp. That didn't even occur to me until you just said it now, Dan, thinking about the way the Chargers use him, especially last season inside on bunches, because Keenan's not a big guy at all. If you ever see him in real life, I mean, he's not Devonta skinny, but he's not imposing at the line of scrimmage. And offensive coordinators in LA have been very creative in terms of finding ways to get him open in space, get him where he is best with the ball in his hands. And you really can't do anything better with both Devonta and Jalen than looking back to how they succeeded in college. Like, frankly, watching the Alabama offense, there's so much you can take away from that, and not just for Smith. But the way Sark recognized his ability to not only stretch the field vertically, but also horizontally is going to be so key to this Philadelphia offense. And then with Jalen, again, same thing. Go back to college. Look at the ways in which his coaches integrated both the run and pass game. Last year, it was very much on the fly. They were kind of grafting it onto the existing offense. Build that sucker from scratch. Go off of what he does best and build the offense around it.
Field?
I saw Dan trying to jump in there.
You
go ahead, Dan.
Field. You go. No. Go ahead, Field. We'll get back to you, Dan.
I saw Dan with the hand. But what I was going to say here is, I love the idea of making Devonta Smith, I don't know about quite Keenan Allen 2.0, but at least a reasonable facsimile of him. I'm sure that's a thought that Nick Sirianni, the Eagles' new head coach, had, who was at one point the position coach for Keenan Allen for several years out in L.A. with the Chargers before moving into a quarterback's coach role. And I think that Devonta Smith has the chance to sort of undo some wrongs for two items that he has no responsibility over. One, if the Eagles hit with Devonta Smith all of the past blemishes with their wide receiver evaluation that you can't make it, 5 feet in Philly without hearing an Eagles fan bring up, will at least temporarily be pushed aside. The J.J. Arcega-Whitesides, last year's disappointing season from Jalen Reagor, and the list goes on and on. The second one is we spent all this time in the pre-draft process debating, maybe fruitlessly, whether a guy who's only 160 or 165 pounds soaking wet can be a dominant receiver in the NFL. I'm not saying they're going to be every year 3 Devonta Smith type receiver prospects who are built comparably and have anywhere close to his production, but it's going to open evaluators' eyes to the idea that not all diminutive wide receivers, again, relatively speaking, are bound for a path that looks more like what Tavon Austin's career was, which was when that was the naysayer version of Devonta Smith, is that, hey, Tavon Austin, electric college player, but in the pros, more of a gadget/return man. I think Devonta's got some pressure on him, not because of anything he's done, but because of the circumstances surrounding him.
Yeah, as Dan has pointed out, Nick Sirianni's never had a quarterback who can run like Jalen Hurts, and then you add in what Devonta Smith can do, it could be a recipe for a lot of success. All right, the MLB All-Star Game is tonight in Colorado. All eyes, of course, will be on Shohei Ohtani. The Angels' two-way star is the starting pitcher for the American League, and he's also batting leadoff in the AL as a designated hitter. Of course, you saw him last night in the Home Run Derby. Got us thinking about some of the best two-way players in the NFL. Let's run through this list, guys. Number 5 is where we begin, and J.J. Watt is going to be a big part of this. Texans in the red zone you see here, and look at the big man with the touchdown. Dan.
That looks like me when I get into an argument with Mina, just absolutely out-muscling her for my points. J.J. Watt is such a talented guy. I know he loves Subway and back squat.
Yeah, Mina was J.J. in that scenario. How about Deion Sanders right here? Mina, Sanders can do it all.
You lose prime.
Oh, I mean, Deion Sanders. I'm surprised he's at 4, by the way, and not 1, because when you talk about two-way, Deion Primetime's the guy who comes to mind. No-brainer. He's incredible.
Dontari Poe lined up at QB field.
This was truly the last time that I cried while watching professional football. 340-pound men throwing touchdown passes
beautiful.
Gets into my feelings more than I care to admit on national TV.
Number 2, Super Bowl 39. Mike Vrabel lining up at tight end, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like him to get his hands up quicker, to be honest with you, Braves. Like, get your hands up quicker so you don't have to double catch it. Don't double catch it, Braves. Get your hands up.
I was holding on that play, Dan.
Guys, number 1, you know it's going to be the fridge, right? Look at this, Mina. This guy's unbelievable.
Look at Marcus Spears.
Dude, I don't think people understood how fast Refrigerator Perry was. Given his size, the speed at which he moved was, you kind of see it here, was unreal. Look at that. Look at that big man.
God. That's like a 9-inch vertical right there.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a good athlete.
How much would they have to pay you to let Refrigerator Perry just put his helmet into your chest? Like, what is the number? Is there a number that you just go,
Field? You got a number?
Run through my soul.
Yeah, the medical bill times 8, whatever that ends up being.
So probably for you, Field?
A Nantucket
broke
beach
like
house.
every rib last year. Me again.
The $8 million for Field.
Pricey over here,
Hey,
Dan.
guys, Dak's too high. Where's Justin?